Hey guys, it's Hollywood Studios here, and the hype is building up quicker and quicker as we continue on closer to Monday, which is the first day that riders are allowed to ride Wildcat's Revenge. Today is Sunday, and since the ride opens for previews tomorrow, I wanted to go through a layout breakdown of Wildcat's Revenge and predict what I think each element will feel like, and overall how good I think Wildcat's Revenge will be. Of course, Wildcat's Revenge is one of the most highly anticipated new coasters opening in 2023, and if you guys want some awesome content to come soon regarding Wildcat's Revenge, including opening, definitely stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of content coming out for Wildcat's Revenge this week, so stay tuned later on in the week for that. But first and foremost, let's start off with the whole experience getting into the ride. We've seen many pictures, and I myself have seen construction of Wildcat's Revenge in person, and the queue setup is very similar to that of the original Wildcat. Of course, I love the new sign, it looks great, and the queue itself looks like it's going to be pretty nice, very similar to the original Wildcat. I'm really curious to see how the lockers are implemented. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure double-sided lockers are being implemented for this attraction, so I don't know if they're required or if they're optional. I'm really curious how that's going to work out. I wonder if it's going to be as fluid as a ride like Velocicoaster at Universal, or if it might be a little more messy like what I've heard of Wonder Woman at Magic Mountain. I guess we'll just have to see how that goes. But of course, this ride has a dual load and unload platform, so one unload and one load platform, which means that you can't leave any loose articles on the platform. However, operations are going to be so fast because of this. Trains are going to roll in empty. You don't have to wait for people to get out of the seat that you're going to ride in. You just hop in and go, which I think is great. It's definitely going to help Hersheypark with their 3 train operations on this ride. Now, the pre-lift section, of course, is the first part of the ride, and this actually looks like it might pack in a little bit of airtime. It's a really whippy and just punchy area of the ride, a lot more aggressive than I think anybody was expecting it to be. It's literally a triple down leading into a turn that brings you eventually into the lift hill, which I think is really, really cool. Of course, that lift hill is going to give you some awesome views. It's a pretty tall ride, 140 feet. You're going to get great views of the entirety of Hersheypark if you turn your head at least, and you're going to get to see the rest of the Hershey town before you plummet down that massive drop. I think this drop is going to be great. It's not necessarily the steepest RMC drop we've ever seen. However, I think you're going to get some really good pull and ejector airtime going down this drop, especially in the back row. From there, we have an element that I'm really curious about, and that is the world's largest underflip. This element lifts you up and flips you upside down before turning into pretty much Wildcat's original first drop. So you start off with the inversion and then continue down a downwards turn. Now, this element could either be a bit of a dud or could provide some really interesting forces that we're not expecting. I'm going in not really expecting anything because I haven't experienced an element like this quite yet. But if it's anything like something like Iron Gwazi, which the death roll just throws you, I think this could be really cool. It's kind of reminiscent of Steel Vengeance's upward 0G roll, and like I said, if this is anything like that, you're going to get some really cool forces, some floater airtime, maybe even hang time, and I'm sure that drop down is going to provide some really good forces, both positive and maybe even some negative Gs. From there, you have this giant camelback hill, which is just going to launch you out of your seat. We've all seen testing footage of Wildcat's Revenge, and it just flies over this hill. It only keeps getting faster and faster as people begin to ride, as well as the fact that the ride is warming up. So it's just going to haul over that hill. You're going to get thrown out of your seat. Then you're going to pop up into a bit of a twist and shout type element where you're going to bank to the right before banking to the left into a wave turn. I'm really curious about this little bank because it does level out a little bit, so it could provide some good airtime, but we're going to have to see since it is pretty shallow, but it does look like it travels very fast over this element. From there, you're going to hit the giant wave turn, which looks like an absolutely awesome element. You really get thrown out of your seat on this element. All these elements on other RMC coasters are great. I love a good wave turn, and this ride has 2 of them, both of which look really, really good. After the wave turn, you have the 0G stall, and this stall looks pretty different than any other RMC stall that we've seen before. When you look at it from a side angle, it is profiled way differently than other RMCs. It snaps in and snaps out at totally different times than you would expect, which makes me think it might feel a little more like a dive loop while you're also stalling out before you whip out and head into the wave turn. I'm really curious how this stall is going to feel, how it's going to ride, because it looks very unique and I'm very excited about it overall. From there, you have another wave turn. This one taken a little lower to the ground with a little more speed, it looks like. You're sure to get some great ejector airtime through this element, as these elements always deliver such good airtime. From there, you have what I see as kind of the midpoint of the ride, which is a double down element. Now, when we first saw Wildcat's Revenge announced, we were all really curious about what this element was actually going to be like, since it was hard to tell what it really was from the animation, but now that we've seen it in person, it looks like it's really going to throw you out of your seat. It also has a really good turn in the middle of it, which is going to send you flying to the right and really deliver a nice punch of lateral G-forces. So not only are you going to be ejected on the upwards incline, you're also going to be thrown to the side while also being ejected on the downwards part of this element, which has me really excited to see just how powerful that ejector airtime winds up being. From there, you have a 0G roll, and I'm really curious about the 0G roll because it's pitched a little differently than other 0G rolls. This roll starts a little later than usual, so that makes me wonder if you're going to get some laterals or even ejector airtime as you rise into this element, especially if you're in the front row. When you look at the way the ride is actually profiled, you'll see what I mean, where it almost hops up and then twists down, almost like a mini death roll. It looked a little more pronounced in the animation than it does in real life, but I'm sure it'll still deliver some really good forces. From there, you have your typical RMC overbank turn, and I think this is the only element of the ride that's not really going to do much. For me, these are always the weakest elements on any RMC coaster. They just kind of act as a filler moment, and they really couldn't do anything else in this spot, so I understand why they went with an overbank turn like this, but depending on the speed the ride travels through it, maybe it'll provide some good positive G-forces. From there, you have the final inversion on Wildcat's Revenge, which is a 0G roll, and this one's taken with a good amount of speed, so I imagine it'll feel very similar to other RMC 0G rolls like that of Steel Vengeance. Looks like it's taken with a similar amount of speed to that of Steel Vengeance, so expect a little bit of hang time and a little bit of lateral whip. From there, you have this weird airtime and turn finale where there's a couple turns, a couple airtime hills, and I'm sure these will all deliver some great ejector airtime as you head into the brake run. I really do hope that we see some homage paid to the original Wildcat seal noises on the brake run. They were very iconic and very funny, so it'd be cool if Hershey just played it through the speakers, though I'm not really expecting them to do this. As for where this ride will rank among the other RMCs, I definitely think it has top 5 potential, but I'm not sure if it'll quite get there. It's a really good ride, really complete. Of course, none of us have ridden it quite yet, so we're not sure exactly how it rides, but having ridden so many other RMC coasters and knowing what a lot of these elements feel like, it's very easy to predict what this ride will be like overall, and I do think it has a very good shot at becoming the best coaster at Hersheypark. It will definitely give Skyrush a run for its money, and I absolutely love that ride. So it's going to be very difficult for Wildcat's Revenge to top Skyrush, but we'll all find out pretty soon once we get to ride Wildcat's Revenge this week. If you guys are excited for Wildcat's Revenge, let me know down in the comments below what day you guys are riding Wildcat for the first time. I will be there this Thursday. I'm very excited to get on it. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, let me know down below how you think this ride will feel. Where do you think it'll rank at Hersheypark and among other RMC coasters? With that, I'm Colin for Hollywood Studios, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, guys.